On an Ask LOJ edition of Locked On Jazz, you've given me a magic wand to give each young player one new skill. Plus, you don't like me very much. It's next on Locked On Jazz.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. We are free and available on all podcasting apps as well as on YouTube. Thank you very much for tuning in. We also have a daily newsletter that comes to you with the latest exclusive Empty the Noggin, all those other lockedondaily.com. Please sign up. It is free. Celtics tonight, Cavaliers Sunday. Huge weekend of basketball. Ron and I will have postcasts for you after each and every game right here on these feeds, so make sure you tune in. All right, on today's show for you, first off, today's show is brought to you in part by FanDuel. Get into the action right now. New customers get $200 in bonus bets with your first $5 bet wins. On today's show, it's an Ask LOJ Friday edition. You guys are great at this. So what do we've got for you today? We will look at changing the draft system. We also have some fun questions to close the show, a great locked on memory, a question about mascot birthdays that hopefully we'll get to because those are important. A player comp for Oscar Tshiebwe. Also, some questions about Walker Kessler's three-point shooting, the future of the Utah Jazz, the draft system, what was Danny's original plan, why are we so patient with Cody Williams? I don't like your coverage of young players, David Locke. We start with this question. If you could add a skill to each of our young players, what skill would it be? Kind of fun. I get a magic wand. Let's start in reverse for Walker. I'm actually beginning to see all of the pieces. I'm pretty excited about where Walker's headed, if he counts in this conversation. The lower body strength has opened up the ability to be just an elite offensive rebounder. So that's changed the game entirely on who he is. And then I actually, if I wanted something on Walker, I'd like him to be more of a defensive presence. So I think it's, and I think I'm going to read Will Hardy right here. I actually think if I'm giving him a skill, I'm giving him a louder voice. I think he got pulled from the game the other night for lack of communication defensively. I think they'd like him to be a louder voice and quicker in his voice. From an offensive standpoint, it's an easy answer, but we'll see if that shot comes around in the three. I kind of feel like it will over time adequately. And I feel like he's actually begun to show the ability to put it on the deck a tiny bit, but I don't expect him to ever be, if he can be Jared Allen, who has been an all-star in this league, that would be incredible. That's, the player comp for me on Walker Kessler and where I hope he would go. Brice Sensabaugh, boy, is he shooting it great. So we're not going to touch anything in his shot. I think he's figuring out what he can do offensively. I would go with lateral quickness. Lateral quickness. If I could give him a skill, I don't know if that's what you're talking about when you ask for skills, but if Brice laterally needs to be able to stay in front of people to be able to get a lot of minutes in the NBA, and if he can do that, then that shooting really plays in. Right now, I think the player I've talked about a lot with him is Gary Trent Jr., who is right now, I think, is the worst isolation defender in all of the NBA right now, but is a really, really good shooter. But Milwaukee had to take him out of the starting lineup, and it kind of changed their season when they did and moved him around. And then that's, Gary Trent Jr. is an interesting player because Gary Trent Jr. is now down at a minimum salary, and that's not where Brice wants to be. He was the 37th pick of a draft, but he also had on a not great Toronto team, he averaged 18 points a game and 17 points a game on decent Toronto teams, and played 35 minutes a night at one point in the NBA. So that's pretty awesome. And he's a career 39% three-point shooter this year in Milwaukee, shooting 42. So it's a high-level shooting offensive player. I do think I'm right on that number that he, last time I checked, or at least at one point this year, he was last in the NBA in isolation defense. Just that I am certain of. So that would be it. I would say lateral quickness for Brice Sensabaugh. For Keyonte, that's an interesting question. There's so many flashes of brilliance with Keyonte. His ability to drive to the basket, his ability to draw fouls. I do think they may have found something with him playing off ball. I do think they may have found something with his ability to play in the bonus because he draws fouls better than other guys. And so it's funny, like if I'm at it, like I'm looking at Keyonte and I'm like, wait, what is the skill? When I got to this question, I really stuttered for a second. Like, what is the skill I'm adding for Keyonte? Sometimes I think I have felt that Keyonte, as much as anything, is maturity. He's just so young, right? He's just, and I don't mean that critically, he's 21 years old. Like I've got a 20 and a 22-year-old. I kind of know where they are in the path. And there are just certain signs of Keyonte that it's really coming together. Like if you go look at Keontae's pick and roll offensive game over the last 2 years as the ball handler, he's just so I think he's dramatically improved. I haven't checked it in a little while, but it's, it takes 5,000 pick and rolls before I think you become adapt. And he's run, 1,800, and last year he was 0.89 points per pick and roll, and this year he's 0.95 points per pick and roll. That's a pretty dramatic step in the right direction. So those are there's the signs that are really, really exciting. I would either give Keyonte one of two skills. I would either give him shot selection or just shooting. There's all these signs on Keyonte, and there's visuals that tell me that everything is going to be fine. And then I come back to his career numbers, and he shoots 39.5% from the field and 34% from three. And at Baylor, he did the exact same thing. And I've watched him enough that I think he could be a really, really good shooter. So is it shot selection? Is it patience? Is it fundamentals? I'm not entirely sure, but that's kind of where I am with the answer there. For our three rookies, Isaiah Collier, that one's simple. That one's the shot. He has got so many skills and gumption and confidence and ego that Will talked about this for a long time pregame the other night as a positive. That he's got this ego that makes him believe in what he's can do and willing to do and how to play. And he's got a recklessness to him, and he's got a gumption. It is the shot. The other one I would say would be pressure defense. I do think when you look at players that are similar to Isaiah Collier and their career arc, they're going to have to probably be a menace on the ball defensively for 15 or 20 minutes a night. And that's where he'll be at his best, is if he can do that. So it might be, if I was going to give him a skill, would be 94 feet defense, but he's got the mentality to do that. And I think there's really something to this in the league. I think the next stage in this league is some more specialist type players who coaches use at times. Like if we were playing Memphis, I don't know that this is Ja Morant's route, but let's say we're playing Memphis and I know that Ja Morant plays the whole first quarter. I'm bringing in a specialist with 3 minutes left in the first quarter and the third quarter and hassling him at 94 feet for the final 3 or 4 minutes of that stint. The other scenario would be if I knew, is to do it in the front half of his next stint and tire him out for the final 3 minutes of the game. I don't know that works as well. You're disrupting your patterns. But if I was an NBA roster, I would want to have a 94-foot pickup ball hand guard who just hassles someone. So you get Ja Morant, he's tired. He's played 9 minutes. He wants to play the whole first quarter. And I come in, and now for 3 minutes, I just follow him everywhere. And for those 6-7 possessions, he just gets nothing. He leaves frustrated and tired. And I think there's something to that. I also think if he knows it's coming, it screws him up in the 3 minutes prior. So those would be my thoughts. So Collier, that Filipowski, I can't lengthen his arms, right? The offensive skills are awesome. We've talked about it all week. I think we just go back to defense. I think I might go the same Brice Sensabaugh lateral quickness. Or I would actually go with, rather than lateral quickness, I would go to reaction quickness. I feel like he's slow to react. The three plays that I can't get out of my head are when he's guarding at the elbow and someone spins on him, dunks, and he's standing still. So what is that? I think there's a speed in reaction time. If I could give him a skill, I would give him quicker defensive reaction time. And I don't know on Brice Sensabaugh and Kyle Filipowski whether those are teachable skills. And Cody Williams, I think the easy answer that everyone has would be strength. But I actually am going to change it. I want a better handle. I'm a little unnerved right now when he's putting it on the deck, how often it looks like he's hitting it with a spatula. Because if he at 6'7", he's gonna have to be able to put it on the deck and play on the floor. And every now and then we see it, and then every now and then we don't. The strength, I think, will come. Now, frankly, without the strength, nothing really matters. But I think the strength will come. That's just a natural thing. So I don't know that that's a skill. And the Jazz strength and conditioning staff is so good. You've seen what they've already done with so many players. That I think that's it. So those are it. That's a great question. Super fun way to start the show today. If you could add a skill to each of our young players, what would it be? Our next question starts with, I don't like your coverage of young players. We'll find out why they don't like my coverage of young players next when we continue on Locked on Jazz. Friday edition of Locked on Jazz is brought to you by our friends at Murdoch Hyundai, located at 4646 South State Street, also located in Logan and in Linden. I'm driving the brand new Santa Fe, cool body shape. You've seen it on the road. It's super popular. It looks good. It's really nice to drive. We drove down to the valley yesterday, saw Buddy, had a nice dinner, and then drove back up. And when I got home, I actually said to my wife, like, wow, that is a really good ride. Like that was smooth. So I'm in the brand new Santa Fe. We've actually got two of the old ones for the kids. And then we bought the Ioniq 5 as well. So I've loaded up on these. Love the Hyundai. Have had no problems and just been so smooth. And the price point for what you get is just amazing. And then when you add in the Murdochs and the no regrets experience, it feels pretty perfect. So if you're going to look for a new car, email me first at dlock09@gmail.com. That's dlock09@gmail.com. So that we can get you the VIP treatment you deserve as a Locked on Jazz listener over at Murdoch Hyundai, located in Logan and in Linden and at 4646 South State Street. It's Murdoch Hyundai. Today's show is also brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time, and with Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives business flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need your extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Finding the right talent, if you need marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. Fast and easy hiring, posting a job is free and simple within a day with multiple qualified candidates to choose from, and cost-effective growth. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork helps find affordable top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now. Post your job for free. That's Upwork, UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
If you have Amazon Fire TV, I certainly hope you have watched the bracket breakdown shows we've done. They're amazing. Gordon Hayward was super as our expert. Monique Billings, WNBA player on those as well. The young Jordan Robinson, a rising star. And our Locked On talent was awesome. I'm so proud of what we've put together on that. So make sure you grab that if you get a chance. It's on Amazon Fire TV. Also a bunch of places on YouTube as well now. Our bracket breakdown coverage. All right. Someone doesn't like me. I don't like your coverage of young players. You are so matter-of-fact about what they can't do. People never develop a shot. That's not true. Look at Cade Mobley. They may not, but they may. Kyle can't play center, but now he's a rookie. Chill. It takes time. So this is really interesting to me, and I purposely don't have a name on it. I feel like I've used the Will Hardy line, don't put a stamp on them, 100 times this year. We also can only evaluate where they are at the moment. And there is a certain point in the process where you look at a player and be like, oh, we better make a shift on how we're using them to see if they can do this in a different fashion. I think that's where we are with Kyle, is that he's really good. And it doesn't feel as though the center is a spot for him to be really good. Let's use 14 games to figure it out and see whether power forward's a better answer. And then if it is, we found something. If it's not, then we go back to the drawing board next year. And I'm not involved in this, but the team, I'm just speaking as though you're the team. Then they go back to the drawing board and they figure out how they might use him. The can't shoot thing. So I do believe that one of the biggest mistakes that's made in every draft class is a bunch of coaches and front office people who believe they can get people to shoot that haven't shot it well. We'll continue this all summer. I'm going to analyze this more and more. I'm hoping my computer science super smart kid might be able to actually build me some stuff that pulls it all for me. But yes, I believe this. And it's going to be an ongoing project all summer long. I believe that there's a threshold where if you are under it as a collegiate, European, or G League player, that you're not going to be able to be an above average shooter or an average shooter in the NBA. Yes, I fundamentally believe that. Isaiah Collier was a minor step above that threshold last year. Okay? He was on the correct side, good side of that threshold. Now, there's also a chance with more data that threshold could move and he would flip because that's how close he was. But yes, I believe that there is a threshold by which if you are under as a junior player, whatever level, that you will not be an average shooter in the NBA. That those players, those front offices that believe that they're so great, and those coaches that believe they're so incredible that they can change that, hubris leads them to make bad draft decisions. Okay? We'll see. Ron Holland was one of those players. He's shooting 22% from three. Stephen Castle was one of those players in this draft. He's shooting 29% from three. Isaiah was right on the edge. He's shooting 24% from three. Could they learn? Bazelis in Chicago, I believe, was one of those players. I have to check again. He's at 32% from three. Okay? Reed Shepherd was supposed to be great. He's at 28% from three. So, it takes some time. I will have to go back. We will look at it all summer long. I promise you this will be the number one thing that I'm going to try to develop this summer is if I can take this any further. Why are we ultra patient with Cody Williams when he's playing 30 minutes and averaging 2 points? Well, I guess there's two questions here. Would you really give up on, what else are you going to do right now? We're 15 and maybe won our 16th game the other day. I got it. He's 3 of his last 15 in the last 2 games. He's 1 of his last 13 from 3. He's 4 of his last 17 overall. Yeah, I got it. He hasn't made a free throw in 5 games. I got it. Yeah, it's tough. But what's the other choice? I'm kind of mystified by this question. We're going to call it 45 games in? No, we're going to give him his probably 28 to 30 minutes a night, every night for the rest of the year, so that when he finishes the year, he's played 60 NBA games. He's over a 1,200 minute a night guy, which is there's different tiers, 1,200, 18, 2,400 minutes. That's kind of where you are at different scales of your young career. You're 1,200, 1,800, and 2,400 minutes. And we're going to get Cody at 1,200 and Isaiah and Kyle, I think, are both going to be at 1,800. And that's where they are in their progressions. That's a very good little benchmark. We're going to get Cody to 1,200 minutes, and then he's going to learn from there. But we're being ultra patient because he was the 10th pick of the draft, and we're invested. Is it he is the least productive player in the dunks and threes listing you have. Yeah. It's not super, but I'm not going to just call it 45 games in. Is Will Hardy a good defensive coach? If he's even a decent coach, shouldn't the players be improving? It's shocking how many players we have their bottom 20 defenders. Well, so we are actually, it's really interesting you mentioned that because give me 1 second. I thought this was interesting last night. We, in the last 10 games, are 20th in the league defensively, which, if we were that next year, that would be a huge step. We've been 29th or 28th or 30th the last few years. We're 23rd defending the shot. Or no, we're 11th defending the shot over the last 10 games. It's really good. I have to look and see if it's just because we're having a little variance in our three-point shooting. Teams are shooting 33% from three. But, we actually are seeing improvement. If you look at Will Hardy's resume in his 3 years with the teams that he's been given, they have not been good defensively. Not sure I'm judging Will Hardy on the teams he's been given. Frankly, if we end up with the number 1 or 2 pick, I might argue that Will Hardy deserves Coach of the Year. Right? If your job as a coach is to execute where you want your franchise, he's been able to navigate a locker room and kept the locker room close together. That his job was to get 2,400, 1,800, and 1,200 minutes for various players at different stages of their career. And he's been able to do that while keeping a locker room together, while putting the team in the best draft position possible. Maybe he deserves Coach of the Year. By the way, Keyonte is going to be at 1,800 this year. Walker's going to be at 1,800. Isaiah's going to be at 6. He's going to get close to 1,800. Filipowski's going to be somewhere between 1,200 and 1,800. Aren't many 2,400 minute a night players in the NBA anymore. I think that's 30 minutes a night for 82 games. Did Danny Ainge want to blow the team up and tank from the get-go? Oh, loaded question. Next on Locked On Jazz. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 in extra bets to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. Pick your favorites. Got an eye out for an underdog? BYU with a huge win last night. What do they have? Wisconsin next, I think. Do I have the bracket right on that for Wisconsin? Will BYU be able to pull off that upset? Another one. Right now, Wisconsin is a 1.5 point favorite. Houston Gonzaga is going to be a great one on Saturday. Houston is a 4.5 point favorite in that one. Auburn and Creighton should be good as well. An 8.5 point favorite for Auburn. Can Drake find another upset in it? Get involved in all of the action. FanDuel app makes it simple and easy. When you win, you get paid instantly, no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on college hoops actions all tournament long. $200 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Today's show is also brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Daylight savings snuck up on us again. If you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5 Hours Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late to watch the NCAA tournament, squeezing in around after golf for work, or just trying to keep up with your busy 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. Basketball madness, staying up watching ball games, extra work, extra skiing, whatever it might be. Get out there. 5 Hour Energy, easy to grab and keep you feeling refreshed. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from. Watermelon, blue raspberry, peach mango. You even can build your own 12-pack or 24-pack and have it delivered right to your door. That's pretty awesome. Need one now? Grab 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery store or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. 5 Hour Energy. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen. Thank you very much for all your great questions as well. Did Danny Ainge want to blow the team up and tank from the get-go? Didn't seem like he did much to entice Donovan to stay. Donovan told Danny to run it back another year. This is going to be an interesting oral history that's written somewhere, probably, hopefully, around a championship by the Jazz, where we go back to look at it. I think that Danny felt you couldn't win with Rudy Gobert at the price he was at. And then when Rudy was traded, I do think that Danny's preference was to keep Donovan. But that didn't work out. So that's my thought. I don't know the answer to this. I do think that Danny wanted a different team. That team had run it. I think in his mind, that team had run it back as many times as it could. It's an interesting question I do ask myself all the time. With Will Hardy as a rookie coach, what would happen? Or remember Terry Stotts' interviews for that job. Like, you go to hire Terry Stotts for 1 year and see whether he's got it. I mean, you don't want to necessarily do it for 1 year, but right? Like, I do wonder sometimes, was that a voice issue that they'd all had so many problems together, they just had too many scars, that if we had a different voice leading that ship for a year, I don't think there's a better coach than Quinn, but there could be a different voice. And I don't know. I always wonder. But it'll be a good oral history. Interesting show on options to kill tanking a few days back. What would you like? What would be the impact of teams in the league if we made the lottery completely random every year? Okay, that's just kind of blows my mind because we've talked about the wheel the other day. We did a whole show on this. We talked about setting a date and then having competition. We just make the draft random. Just somebody gets lucky. I don't think that front offices would go for it because they would like to believe that there's skill in who builds a team and how they build a team and how they approach things. And this would just make it pure random and luck. And so I think teams would be reluctant on that. It would kill tanking completely. Like, if the issue of tanking is that big a deal, it would completely kill tanking. You are correct. All right. I got a email from Calvin. He said, the best solution out there is to do away with the lottery system in favor of an end-of-season tournament with non-playoff teams. Winners of said tournament be rewarded the best picks. All fans are tired of watching NBA blatantly lose games, and I believe this fixes the issue and makes the end of the season exciting and more profitable for all teams. The only way to get this on anyone's radar is me. Okay. So he builds up this. He sent me a little graphic. He sent me kind of a cool little teams. His goals are to create more revenue for the league, reward winning, increase parity, help lower level teams get players to make them in the playoffs. And he has a tournament and says he has all sorts of little things in it, like players who don't play more than 70% of the games can't participate in the tournament. So that avoids you sitting out players. All non-playoff teams participate after the play-in. Seeding is done based on the overall records of the 14 teams. Highest seed gets home court advantage. Brackets are recent. So there's a few things here. It's interesting, and I love the effort. He literally went to he has a 13-page, 19-page PowerPoint for me and looks at it. He really went to great effort. So I really want to shout out Calvin Hayward for this because I thought it was great. There's two things on this. One is I'm not sure you're getting players to play hard to find their replacements. I think that's one of the things that falls in here. Two, I really think the issue you want to avoid in all of these is having a circumstance where with 3 weeks left in the season, a team suddenly dives out of the playoffs. So if we add this right now, Phoenix and Dallas, I think would be in a race to see who could get into the play-in tournament or whatever you want to call it, the draft tournament, right? And I'm not entirely sure you wouldn't have Miami, who's lost 9 in a row, racing Toronto to get out of, or you might have teams, particularly if you have the play-in, you might have teams openly tanking the play-in game. Because what's the point of going to play Cleveland when you could go get Cooper Flag? I mean, I would almost argue that Sacramento at this point would be trying desperately to get out of the playoffs. You'd have Sacramento, Phoenix, Dallas, all trying to get out of the playoffs to get into this playoff tournament. To me, that's worse than what we have. It was interesting to do that show. I will admit, by the end of that show, the two things that jumped out to me were maybe, while it feels awful and seems ridiculous, and it's just not that big a deal. And two, all of these solutions to me would ruin young player development, right? If we're suddenly doing something where on March 1st, you fix the standings and then everyone's got to try to win for their draft pick, like Cody Williams doesn't play. Isaiah Collier probably doesn't play. Kyle Filipowski doesn't totally play. Like you're suddenly just really curtailing player development. So there just is something to being one of these bottom 6 teams that's trying to develop young players and play them and have them emerge and get experience. And so would a better way to curb incessant tanking to implement a curve to the odds and say the best odds of the number 1 pick are actually the 4th worst record. And so teams have to jockey for positioning at 4th or 5th. Okay, that's wild too. I love the ideas. It's interesting. I mean, this is again, like if tanking is really like, it feels super important and terrible to us right now. I don't know that it is. And as I said kind of in that show the other day, I wonder if you asked Houston, Oklahoma City, and Cleveland about it right now, what they would say. Who are your final 4 picks for the NBA playoffs this year? Cleveland, Boston in the East, Oklahoma City. And I don't have a clue. Like I was utterly convinced it was Minnesota. And I was utterly convinced that Minnesota would get to 6. They would beat Denver at 3. They would then beat Houston. In the next round, it would be Minnesota. I was completely convinced. And then they just lost 2 games in a row, slipped to 8th. I still think it's Minnesota. I think Minnesota, Oklahoma City is the Western Conference Finals. Comparison, fair or unfair, Paul Millsap as a rookie to Oscar Tshiebwe. It's interesting. This is from Craig Irvine, who's been a long-time listener. I have a hard time comping into him to Paul Millsap. He's really like 1 in a million. Like the amount of second-round draft picks that turn around and have 15-year NBA careers that include an all-star are like 3. So I really just love Oscar Tshiebwe experiment. Love what's going on with it. But I have a hard time comping him to Paul Millsap. I'm so many years late on this, but I tried a mudslide cookie the other day, and I had one for the first time. It was incredible. I'm a cookie collector. When a mascot has a birthday, is it all expenses paid trip for other mascots from interstate who come to celebrate? I believe so. Or they must have a deal where they all go to each other's and pay for it themselves. We have had more mascot birthday parties on road Jazz games this year than ever before. That is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Thanks so much for tuning in. Check out Amazon Fire bracket breakdown. Also, if you've not given us 5-star review, please do. If you liked anything in the program today, hit the thumbs up on YouTube, subscribe, and follow. My socials are DLock09. Thanks so much. On video, we'll send you the first ever 24/7 NBA channel, Locked On NBA. And on audio, check out Game Night, every game on Locked On NBA.